now is So-rad Ah-Mari, who's the founder and editor of Compact magazine from New York. Good evening to you. What do you make of the article in New York Times, basically criticising the cost of the funeral, suggesting perhaps that it might be a step too far in this cost of living crisis?
Yeah, I guess insofar as I can apologize on behalf of the American journalistic class, that's a very silly article. There isn't much to say other than you can imagine, some editor or the line reporter being like, there's a funeral going on in Britain. It's a big deal. Who's going to pay for it? And the result is a lot of people, I think a lot of Britons are justly angry at what a kind of petty and stupid article it is in a moment that is somber and that where one would expect America's leading journalistic organ, our paper of record, to attend to more important things. On the other hand, I mean, it's, one shouldn't make too much of a big deal out of it either. It's a very typical journalistic gesture, right? So that something grand happens and you ask, is it the taxpayer that's paying it? Now, in the grand scheme of a cost of living crisis on both sides of the Atlantic, the funeral is actually probably a drop in an ocean. So again, it's very silly, but it's very typical also for the press in general and perhaps the American press especially.
Yeah, and just tell me, what has been the reaction over in America of the news of the Queen's passing?
Well, I think there's a great deal of Anglophilia among broad segments of the American population, and especially of a kind of love and respect for the royal family. Obviously, despite the rupture of the American founding with the continuity that we've been talking about on the segment, our revolution represents a kind of rupture with that continuity. Nevertheless, I think a lot of Americans look yearningly or nostalgically somehow at the royal family as this sort of visible symbol of national unity, of dignity, of continuity and tradition. So on the whole, setting aside what happens in Midtown Manhattan and the offices of the New York Times, I think the American people are extremely sympathetic and kind of almost obsequious, and that's precisely the right word amid a funeral toward the British royal family and the British people.